Gaming is getting way too expensive, and I don't mean that in the normal old man yells at a cloud way, where every generation complains that things cost more than they used to. I mean, gaming is starting to feel like the industry looked at the average player, looked at their wallets and said, yeah, there's probably more in there. And at this point, it's starting to feel bigger than inflation, hardware cost, or one company making one overpriced box. It feels like gaming is slowly being turned into a luxury hobby and normal players are the first ones getting pushed out. And the latest thing that made me think about this was Valve's new Steam machine, because that thing is expensive, like very expensive. The 512GB model starts at around $1,000 and the 2TB version goes even higher. And that is before you even start thinking about the controller, shipping, or whatever other little financial jump scare gets added to the checkout. When people saw that price, the reaction was pretty obvious. $1,000 for a living room gaming box is not just expensive, it is the kind of expensive where you look at the screen, close the tab, and just close your eyes and lean back for a second. But here's the annoying part, I don't think this one is really Valve's fault. At least not in the simple company bad price high way. Because the Steam machine is not really a normal console, it's basically Steam OS gaming PC made for the living room. Valve is not doing the classic console strategy where the hardware gets pushed down to a more attractive price because the company knows it can make the money back later through subscriptions, platform fees, a locked store, and all the other little walls that makes console ecosystem profitable. Valve seems to be doing almost the opposite. They're selling a small PC, it runs Steam OS, it's not pretending to be a cheap box that secretly becomes expensive later. The price is just sitting there in front of you, looking disgusting from the start. And weirdly, I respect that more. I still hate looking at the number, but at least I understand what I am looking at. The Steam machine is expensive because PC hardware is expensive, memory and storage are a mess, and Valve is not trying to hide the real cost behind a closed ecosystem. And that is almost worse, because when the more open, more consumer-friendly version of the idea still lands at a price that makes normal people physically lean back in the chair, it says something bigger about where gaming is going. This is not just a Valve problem, this is the entire hobby getting heavier, and then right after everyone started arguing about the Steam machine price, Xbox basically walked into the room and made the conversation even more depressing. Xbox prices are going up again. Some models are going up by $100, some are going up by $150. The 2TB model is being discontinued, and suddenly we're talking about Xbox hardware prices. That sounds completely insane for a console generation that has already been around for years. Now I know the easy reaction is to point and laugh because it's Xbox, and the internet has been doing that professionally for about 10 years. But this is bigger than Xbox. This is the part people should not ignore. Gaming used to have a very simple promise. If you waited long enough, it got cheaper. That was the deal. You did not need to buy everything at launch. You could wait a few years, let the library grow, catch a better bundle, and eventually the same console would become easier to justify. Now we're in a timeline where old consoles can become more expensive. That feels wrong. And the reason it is happening makes it even more annoying, because this is not just Xbox waking up one morning and deciding the vibes were too affordable. The official reason is memory and storage. Those parts have become way more expensive, partly because every major tech company is currently throwing money into the AI data centers like they're trying to build God in a warehouse. And somehow the normal player gets dragged into that too. You are not buying some massive AI server or trying to train a chatbot or automate anything complicated. You just wanted a console under your TV. But because the same memory and storage market is getting squeezed, the price of gaming box goes up too. That is what makes this whole thing feel so ridiculous. Even when it's not directly about greed, the end result for the player is still the same. The hobby costs more. Not because companies are never allowed to react to the economy. Of course, manufacturing cost exists, inflation exists, supply chains exist. The world is not some magical fantasy land where Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Valve, or anyone else can just summon cheap hardware for the gamers. But from the player's side, all those explanations still land in the same place. the price goes up, and the most people did not get extra money or extra free time to balance that out. Rent did not go down because Xbox needed space in the budget. Groceries did not politely say, "Don't worry bro, GTA 6 is coming." That is why this feels different now. Gaming was never free. I don't want to pretend this used to be some perfect golden age where every game cost $2 and developers personally delivered it to your house for a hug. Games have always cost money, consoles have always cost money, but the difference now is that the industry feels more aggressive about it. It does not just feel like prices went up, it feels like the entire hobby has been redesigned to find more places where money can be extracted. The machine is more expensive, the game is more expensive, the edition that actually looks fun and exciting is more expensive. Online play on console still has a fee attached to it, somehow. Then you finally get inside the game and there is often a store waiting for you like it pays rent. Console online subscriptions still annoy me because everybody just accepted that at some point, and now we all act like it makes perfect sense. You already bought the console, you already bought the game, you already pay for your internet, but no, apparently there is still one more little toll booth before the multiplayer starts working. That is insane! That is like buying a car, buying fuel, paying for insurance, and then the manufacturer shows up once a month asking for $10 more so the steering wheel works. And yeah, I know, you get some monthly games, you get cloud saves, you get features, cool, but let's not pretend the main reason people pay for it is because they were sitting there thinking, you know what my life needs? Another subscription. They pay because online multiplayer is locked behind it. Oh, and speaking of asking more, could you please maybe, hit the subscribe button? It helps me out. Anyway, back to the companies asking for more with way more confidence than I just did. The problem with modern gaming costs is not that one single purchase ruins everything. It is the feeling that every part of the hobby has a small gate in front of it now. That is what makes it exhausting. The PS5 was already not cheap, then the PS5 Pro arrived with a price that made people stop and double check what they were actually getting for that money. Now Xbox prices are climbing again too, which makes the console market feel completely upside down. Consoles are supposed to be the simple option. That was always the appeal. You buy the box, plug it in and play. You don't need to know what VRAM is. You don't need to watch a 40-minute benchmark video before deciding whether your living room is emotionally ready for ray tracing. But when the simple option starts feeling expensive, the whole conversation changes. Console is no longer just the easy way into gaming. It becomes another expensive device in a world already full of expensive devices. And once you add full price games, subscriptions, premium editions, battle passes and all the other nonsense around it, even casual gaming starts to feel financially annoying. That matters because gaming is supposed to be the escape. For a lot of people, this is what they do after work. This is how they relax when everything else is already expensive, stressful and full of people asking for money. So when gaming starts to feel like another thing squeezing you, it loses some of the magic. You sit down to escape real life and the game immediately starts acting like real life. There is always some new upgrade path, some limited time bundle, some premium currency, some deluxe version, or some battle pass that expires because apparently even relaxing needs homework now. And I know someone will say, just don't buy it. Sure, that is technically true. You can skip the skins, you can wait for sales, you can avoid deluxe editions, you can play older games, you can be patient. That is all good advice. But it also kind of proves the point when the smartest way to enjoy modern gaming is to avoid engaging with half of what modern gaming is trying to sell you. Maybe the business model has become annoying. Because players are not just complaining that things cost money, they're complaining that gaming keeps finding new ways to make spending money feel worse. There is big difference between paying for a great game and feeling like the game is slowly reaching into your pocket while pretending it's doing you a favor. A good game makes the price feel worth it. A bad business model makes even a good game feel slightly gross. That is what companies should actually be worried about. Because when players starts to feel like every release is a trap They become defensive before the game even comes out. They stop watching trailers like fans and start reading the store pages like lawyers. What edition has the real content? Is there early access? Is there battle pass? Are there paid cosmetics? Is the game actually finished? Should I wait 3 months? Should I wait 6 months? That is not healthy hype. That is damaged trust. And the most annoying part is that higher prices do not always come with higher trust. If games were getting expensive but also launching polished, complete, stable and respectful of the player's time, people would still complain, but the conversation would feel different. The problem is that prices are rising while confidence is falling. Nothing makes a player feel like an idiot faster than paying premium money for a game that feels unfinished. You spend $70 or $80, download a giant day 1 patch, deal with server problems, fight performance issues, and then 3 months later the game is on sale for half the price because you apparently paid extra for the privilege of being a beta tester with enthusiasm. That is why players are getting cynical. It is not because gamers are too cheap to spend money. Gamers spend money constantly. I mean, this is the same hobby where people buy collector's editions, upgrade graphics cards they absolutely do not need, spend hundreds of hours in gacha games, and somehow convince themselves that a new monitor was basically a responsible life decision. Players will pay. The question is whether they feel respected for it when they do. That is why games like Stellar Blade or Wukong had different kind of price conversation. People could argue about the game themselves, the combat, the story, the performance, whatever, but the basic deal was easy to understand. You bought the game and you got the game. That matters. Because when a full price live service game shows up asking for $70 and then immediately starts selling you battle pass, premium currency, cosmetics, deluxe editions, early access and every other little piece of money-hungry Western AAA nonsense, it feels completely different. At that point, it does not feel like you're buying a game, it feels like you're buying an entry fee to a store. And right now, a lot of the industry does not feel respectful. It feels like business model is being designed around one uncomfortable question. How much can we charge before people finally get mad enough to stop? That is a dangerous game. Because expensive corners have always existed in gaming. High-end PC gaming has always been expensive. If you want the strongest hardware, the cleanest setup, the nicest monitor and graphic settings that make your GPU sound like it's preparing for war, then yeah, you're going to pay for that. That is fine, luxury exists. The problem starts when the normal version of gaming begins to feel like a luxury too. That is why the Steam Machine price hits such a nerve for me. Even though I don't think Valve is the villain there. It is almost the clean version of the problem. There is no big trick. It is not a cheap console with locked ecosystem hiding behind it. It is a small living room PC, and PC parts are expensive, so the machine is expensive. But that still means the floor is rising. And when the floor rises, normal players feel it first. Not the whales, not the collectors, normal players. The person who wants one console, few games a year, and maybe enough money left over to eat something. That is who gets squeezed. Then you look at the games themselves, because when a game starts creeping towards $80, players notice. And yeah, GTA 6 is going to sell anyway. Of course it is. It is GTA 6. Rockstar could release that game inside a locked briefcase guarded by a raccoon with a knife, and millions of people would still find a way to buy it. But that is exactly why the price matters. GTA is not just another game, it's the kind of game that sets expectations. When the biggest game in the world moves the standard price higher, everyone else watches. Publishers do not look at that and think, wow, how brave of Rockstar, but we would never. No, they look at it like a door opening. And once that door opens, good luck closing it. That is what players are worried about, not just one expensive game. The fear is that the new price becomes normal, then the deluxe edition becomes the real version, then early access becomes standard, then the same game still has battle pass because apparently selling you the game was just warm-up act. This is how gaming starts to train people against itself. Players wait longer, they buy less at launch, they stop pre-ordering. They become harder to convince, not because they hate games, but because games have taught them to protect themselves. And honestly, can you blame them? If the industry wants premium prices, it needs to deliver premium games, not stores with entry fees. Games. Subscribe and I love you. Bye!